into your eyes. I just thank the Lord 1,000 times. Finally, I found the one that
I Hello, everyone. I am super excited about tonight. We're talking about one of my favorite topics, which is living the dream. And so before we get started, please share, subscribe, and do all the things in all the places. All right. So our guest tonight is a triple threat, triple threat recording artist, producer, just all the things, vocal coach, everything, all the things in all the places related to music and just vocal art and everything. So I would love to introduce you to my good friend, Raye.
Hey everybody. Hey Roselle. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. And so I invited Lewis because he's one of my great inspirations when it comes to living the dream, doing something you are passionate about. I know when I won't say a little girl because I wasn't little, but I was little when Beyonce came out. Okay. But I remember growing up being like, okay, I want to be Beyonce, right? Which is in itself a little bit of an issue because I'm wishing I'm somebody else. But we all have these dreams as we grow up. And we have these things we want to pursue and things that are important to us. And sometimes as adults, like responsibilities and everybody's judgment and just real life and bills and all kind of stuff gets in the way. And so I don't know how long I've known you, but I have watched you make many records, right? It's been some years. It's been at least like 6 years.
6 or 7, right?
Yeah, probably somewhere around there. Yeah.
I would say more.
No,
About
it's probably
7,
like
6 or
8.
7. Yeah,
It's
about
probably like
8. I think about 8.
9, yeah. Because I worked at Coke when I started. So I want to invite you on to share your experience. So I'm going to start by asking you, what is your dream?
What is my dream? My dream is to be able to wake up every day and make music, create music, sing, perform it, produce it, play it, and connect with people through music. And so that's always been like my dream. And that's what I just love to do. It fulfills me and just makes me feel whole and complete. But yeah, if I had to sum it up in its shortest form.
Yeah. And so what I found so interesting about that, I had a set of questions that failed. So I can't reach them. But what I found so interesting about that is that like you haven't given up on that, right? So
Right.
like you have had the ability to infuse music in your life in every way. So for instance, I love music. That's how we met, right?
Right.
You trying to help me, try to help me out a little bit. But I didn't ever take the risk or the initiative like early on to say, okay, this is what I'm gonna invest in and this is what I'm gonna stick with because it's fun, it's creative, it works my mind differently, it makes me feel good when I leave, it's expressive. You
Hmm.
know, it can be messy, it could be technical, it could just be
A lot of different
it's
things.
so
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's therapeutic, right? And there's like other people have other things, right? Some people like to paint, some people like to go fishing or whatever that passion, or
Yeah.
help people, whatever that passion is. But somehow you have been able to incorporate it in your life in a way that works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the beauty of, excuse me, going after your dreams and going after something you're really passionate about. Is like you don't really realize at first how many opportunities you're going to get because of that, how many
Hmm.
other doors are going to open because of that, how many different people you're going to meet because of that. So, starting out just, just pursuing music by myself, I'd never imagined that one day I would eventually be a vocal coach,
Hmm.
to others and helping others find their voice, but that's because I went in that direction. Okay, all these other avenues kind of opened up for me. And so it kind of fulfills, it's kind of twofold, almost like you were saying earlier about one of the issues when you're pursuing a dream as an adult. It's like, well, you got all these other stuff happening as an adult now. You have bills, you got responsibilities, you got all this other stuff. So it's like, I remember I was working before I became a vocal coach. I was still performing and doing other stuff, but it's like, okay, you still got to pay the bills, right?
Hmm.
uh I was doing this other job that was completely had nothing to do with music,
Hmm.
and then I was just so miserable there. And I was like, I remember praying, like, God, give me a job in music somehow. Like if it's at a
Yeah.
music store, if it's whatever. And then this, opportunity to become a vocal coach kind of came to play. So it's fulfilling in a way, because I'm singing every day. I'm helping other people find their voice, and it's inspiring to work with other people's and motivate them, and they motivate you. So it's kind of like this feedback loop of like
Hmm.
positive energy when when I'm doing things like this. So
Yeah, and so one of the things you just said that I want to tune into is that you are open to different possibilities. So I think sometimes, especially as we get older, we get really stuck in, let's say, use me an example, right? I want to be Beyonce. Well, now I'm well past that age, right? Right? So,
no.
but I think the more we grow and we get kind of inundated with society and norms and all of this stuff, we have such a narrow view of what we want to do. So, being a life coach, I work with people, and even in my own life, it's like, okay, this is how I see it. I want to do this, and it's big and it's grand. But sometimes we won't accept those little steps. That's like a step towards it, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
so you want to work with music. You're like, wait, I really love music. I'm a performing artist. I'm a great producer. I'm a great writer. But you know what? I can go be a vocal coach, and that infuses my dream, but also satisfies that financial need.
exactly. And it's one of those things too, is it has helped me to grow as a singer at the same time. So it's like, I think about before I started being a vocal coach until now, it's like, wow, well, because I've been able to learn how to teach vocals and all that kind of stuff, I use that on myself as well, and to really elevate my own skills. And so that has been like, I don't think I would be the singer I am now had I not become a vocal coach, in that pursuit of my dreams. So it's amazing how things work out when you are in that direction of what you're passionate
Mhm.
about, yeah.
So, what have been the challenges as far as like, have people been a challenge? Has just situationally, have there been challenges that pop up?
I mean, a lot of yeah, a lot of challenges. Well, yeah, people. I think when depending on what your dream is, and what it is that you want to pursue, it attracts people. It can attract the right people, and also attract the wrong people. It can attract the people who, are there to support you and help to push you along. It can also attract the people that say, "Oh, you're going somewhere. I want to just attach myself to you and just try to like benefit everything I can from you, but not actually help you. I just want to
Mhm.
like just be ready when you take off, or be ready to get something, or just try to like, hey, sign this or sign that, and that
Mhm.
way I own this for life. And people will take advantage of what you don't know.
Mhm.
Especially in a business like the music industry, there's a lot of people who um, take advantage of people's lack of knowledge or their ignorance as far as the business goes. There was a point in time where I was just really um, just so focused on, like, performing and being a big star and all that kind of stuff, and I really trusted what people told me as far as like the business side. Oh, you perform, you sing, you do this, don't worry about, let us handle the business. And I was just kind of really trusting with that, because it's like I was so passionate about the music
Mhm.
and performing, I wasn't really thinking about business side, you know. So those are some of the challenges that I have faced, specifically music wise. But there may be some other, like, let's say your dream is to be a nurse or a doctor. There may be some other challenges in that as well. But because of those challenges, you learn a lot, you grow a lot. I like to always stop and reflect, and that in turn helps to make me make better decisions as
Mhm.
far as my dream goes, and just in life in general. It's like, okay, well, I did this, I trusted that, I tried this happened, this came against me as a challenge. Are you going to keep going, or are you going to let that stop you? And that's one of the other things too. It's like it builds up your resilience.
Mhm.
There have been people who will say, "Oh, you're still doing this, or you're still going after this, or aren't you too old, or aren't you too this, or aren't you too that?" And you got to have like thick skin if you really, really want this. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks about you. You just have to just, if you love it and you're passionate about it and it makes you happy, and you can do this for hours and hours, and not feel tired, or just it feels like the day goes by just so fast when you're doing what you're passionate about. It doesn't matter what anybody says, as long as you believe in yourself. And I think that's one of the biggest things that the challenge has taught me, was just believe in myself no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah, so how do you deal with those people? Do you keep them around? Do you just kind of put them in their place? Like, okay, well, I'm not going to talk to you about this, but we can hang out at the cookout. Like, what do
Right.
you
Yeah. This is pretty much, you kind of have to learn to compartmentalize people. You have to know um, people's position regarding, your dream.
Mhm.
There's some people that wouldn't necessarily want. Um, you wouldn't necessarily want to share your dreams with, because they may tell you, well, you need to be realistic, and you need to really be for real, and you need to have a backup plan. You need to have a plan B. And sometimes I think what's important is to consider what people say, whatever, because a lot of times people aren't being malicious when
Mhm.
they say what they say. They're saying it because they're concerned about you, or they care about you. They
Mhm.
may say it because they tried to go for something and it didn't work out, and they are telling, they just want to look out for you. So I get that a lot of times it's not necessarily malicious, but you kind of have to decide for yourself. you know am I going to take this risk? How am I going to feel years from now? I would rather say I tried and I failed, versus
Mhm.
saying, oh, I wish I would have actually just tried out and tried to do this, or I wish I would have just tried to go for it back then. That's kind of one of the things that's always been kind of motivating for me. It's like, I don't want to say what if. I don't want to say I wish. I rather say I tried everything I could. Hey, maybe it didn't
Mhm.
work out, but I tried. At least I can say that.
So you hit a nerve with me, right? So so one of the things I talk about in coaching a lot is the word realistic, because often realistic is looked at with a very pessimistic attitude, right? So I can't do this. This isn't realistic. And then I say, well, examine your strengths, examine what you've been through in the past and what you've done in the past, and evaluate that more realistically, right? Be realistic in the positives as much or more as you
As
are
you are in the
in the
negatives,
risk.
yeah. Think about
Yeah.
the stuff that could go right. And another thing, to kind of piggyback off what you said, there have been times where I would say maybe 2 or 3 times where I wanted to like just kind of quit and just walk away from it all.
Hmm.
But one of the things that really helps me to keep going is when I take a look back, um, of what I have accomplished. Because I look back like, okay, oh, why didn't I make it then? Or why didn't I have this success back then? I look back, okay, well, I wasn't as now, looking back now, it's like, oh, I wasn't as good as I thought it was. But I see, I kept going and I got better, and I kept going, and I got
Hmm.
better. So it's like, okay, well, I'm here now. If I keep going, I can only get better. I can only improve. I can only get more opportunities. And so that's always been like a big motivator for me whenever I kind of like want to shut down. It's like, okay, well, look where you came from. And if you keep in that direction, you're just only going to elevate. So
Now I wanted to shut down today. So
yeah, yeah. Look where you gotta look back and like, you know what? I've come this far. Keep going.
yeah, so I think that's great, right? You have to look back and actually realize, because sometimes, especially as very motivated and driven people, you often don't recognize and appreciate what you've done, right? You're
That part.
constantly
Yeah.
looking at the next goalpost, and usually the goalpost is like 20 years down the line, and we're constantly chasing that next high, that next accomplishment. But when we get to the next accomplishment, it's like it never happened. We're like, well, it was, it's almost like it was too easy for us, though it wasn't easy. And we're like, well, if I did it, it must not have been that hard. So
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like once you get to that next, it's like, okay, well, now it's time for the next one. Now it's time for, yeah. But I think, yeah, that's very important to stop and appreciate what you have accomplished. That's a part of that reflection too, and I stop and I'm like, you know what? But look at what you have. Like you can say, I haven't won the Grammy. I haven't had a number one hit. But look at what you have done. And look at
mhm.
what you have accomplished. And look at what if you continue in that right direction, you will get there. And if you know what they say, if you want to reach the moon, aim for the stars. You're gonna hit the moon or something. I forgot. I may have
Or
misquoted that,
something.
but but if you just aim, just keep going, just you're gonna reach somewhere. You're gonna go far. Just keep going.
Do
Um,
you think that sometimes when we have these dreams and we have this purpose and we have this passion and we almost idolize it, right? We kind of make it look perfect and it has to be in a certain package and
in a
wrapped up
certain
with a
time,
bow.
and by this
Yeah,
age, and
with
yeah,
glitter. Do you feel like sometimes we also like we need to understand the big picture, but we need to focus on just kind of what's ahead because the big picture kind of gets intimidating
yeah,
and overwhelming. Have you
yeah,
dealt with that?
yeah, definitely, definitely. I finally got to a point where, because I would put like these deadlines. I think all that stuff is important, but it's
Mhm.
just in life I'm learning it's all about the balance, right? How do
Mhm.
you balance this? How do you jug this? What should you prioritize right now? What should you focus on now? It's like, okay, I got the big picture, but right now I'm going to focus on da 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 da, which in turn is going to get me to the big picture. But sometimes if we're looking at the big picture, like you said, it's like you don't want to take that first step. You don't want to take, but you got to just take that first step, and just that helps me out. Another thing that I do, I try to organize my dreams. I have this binder. It's like my dream
You
binder.
have right, okay,
And it
tell me
has
more.
it's full. And it has just kind of has like my goals, big, long-term goals, short-term goals, 6-month goals, and all that kind of stuff in regards to the bigger picture. And it just kind of helps me to kind of stay on track and like and just make progress in like a digestible way. So for example, working on an album, that's a big picture kind of a goal, right? It's a
Mhm.
lot that goes into that. But if I look at it in smaller increments, like, okay, well, I need to start off with writing the songs. Then I need
Mhm.
to produce the songs. Then I need to record. Then I need to mix. Then I need to master. Then I need to set up a video. It kind of puts it in a more digestible way versus like, I'm never going to finish this album. It's like, yeah, you can if you just take a little chunk at a time. And so I do think it's important to have a big picture, but also at the same time have a plan to complete that big picture, and just do a little bit every day. That's one of the biggest things too, being consistent every day, working towards it.
Consistency and coming back. Even if you need to take a break, like I need a day, like I
Yeah,
have a headache, I need a day.
just
Coming
get back
back
up.
to
If you
it,
fall off the horse, I always just
pick
say,
back
get
up.
back on the horse. Just get back on the horse. Okay, you didn't practice today, get back on the horse. Okay, you slacked off today, you weren't feeling good, get back on. Just keep going.
And giving yourself grace, right?
That
Giving
part too,
yourself
yeah.
the grace to say, okay, yeah, I didn't feel well, and it's okay.
It's okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that too. Yeah, giving yourself some grace. That's
Giving
super
yourself
important
some
because
grace.
as when you're motivated about something and pursuing something, you can be really, really tough on yourself, and
Hmm.
you miss out on enjoying the moment of or the reason why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. You can
Yeah.
kind of miss out on that. And I think that happened to me for a moment. I kind of missed out on why I would even like making music in the first place. It's like music made me feel good. Music was an escape. Music um was my outlet, and it just really brought a lot of joy to my life. And so it's like if that's not a part of that anymore, you need to, reevaluate why is this not giving me the same feeling that I had once before, and just make sure that's still in the forefront when you're pursuing your dream.
Uh-oh, 1 second.
Yeah.
So the other thing that came to mind as you talked about that was, how do you keep your dream that you have incorporated into your work from becoming a job?
Great question. Yeah, you have to just kind of constantly remind yourself
Hmm.
of what your dream is, because you can kind of get lost into that whole other world of like a career path or a job, right? Especially
Hmm.
with mine because they're kind of intertwined. Um, but I just kind of try to keep like reminding myself of what my big goal is
Hmm.
as far as my dream goes. Having something like a vision on the wall is helpful for me too, so I can see it every day. So I have like these in my home studio. I have like a lot of these like posters and these affirmations and these, like my goals are big on the wall,
Yeah.
so I can see it every day. And so that's something that kind of helps me to remember and remind myself to like, okay, this is the big dream, this is the big goal, this is what I'm really, really after, and should always work towards every day. So just having some kind of constant reminder, I think, is helpful, so that way it doesn't get in the way or feel like work.
Yeah. Yeah. So, people who are watching, do you have any questions? What dreams are you pursuing? Have you worked on your dreams? Have you given up on your dreams? If so, what were the challenges? So, I'm just throwing out a lot of questions, but feel free to comment. Feel free to comment and we'll address it. All right. So, what would you say, hands down, has been the toughest challenge for you
Toughest challenge for me,
with the process, your journey?
I think um the toughest challenge has been the financial part for me.
Mm.
It re- um sometimes it takes a lot to kind of do things the way you want to do them, when it requires like a big financial investment or commitment or something like that.
Mhm.
And so that has been one of the biggest challenges for me. It's like because of that, I have learned how to do a lot of things. So studio time costs money, and getting a mix engineer and getting it mastered, and then you want quality work. You don't want to just put a crappy, as far as music goes, you don't want to put a crappy kind of sounding mix out there, because it's not going to go anywhere. People are not going to take you seriously. So for me, when I first started, I would get songs recorded and mixed, and they would just not sound good, because I wanted Beyonce level mastering or
Mhm.
mixing or production quality, or Usher max, quality or whatever. And it's like, well, I don't have those resources to do that. So, but
Yeah.
because that I've learned how to do that, um, and that required school, and that required equipment, and that requires money to buy the equipment, and so stuff like that has been like a really big challenge for me. But like I said, because of that challenge, I have learned a lot in the process.
Yes. So I totally relate to that, because starting my own business and doing coaching, um, the financial part of it is, okay, I want a glamorous website,
Right.
but I got a whole second mouth to feed that eat all my food. So that is it's a true challenge of balancing, like, what do I need to pay for And what can I learn? I've learned a ton through the process. But then when you learn to do a lot of stuff yourself, you also have to balance like your time
Yeah,
and not being exhausted.
right. Yeah. It
Yeah.
takes away, it kind of can take away from the dream part of it sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, okay, by learning how to mix a song, I'm not making music. I'm mixing music now, so it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
taking away from my creative time to create music, in a way. So yeah, it's another balancing act, another juggling act.
And
Uh,
all the stuff you hate to do, right?
right.
So when it comes to like, I will talk to people and they're like, I want to start a business. Okay, well, there's other things to starting the business than just what you want to do for the business. And so being willing to invest, you either going to invest financially or you're going to invest your time.
Your
Like
time,
those are
yeah.
the choices you have. That's you got one or the other. You going to hire somebody to do some stuff or you going to figure it out. And it's going to take time.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people get stuck right there, right? Like I want to start this business. I want to be, I'm just going to use something random, like a hairdresser since I have puffy hair today. So I want to be a hairdresser, but I just want to do hair. I don't want to figure out how to
I don't want to get a
get,
business license. I don't want to how to figure out how to get any kind of certification. I don't want to figure out how to, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Or I don't want to figure out, like, I don't want to figure out how people
marketing.
pay, how I'm going to pay my taxes. I don't want to figure out, yeah, oh God, I hate marketing and I hate social media marketing.
Yeah.
Like, I hate it. Like I really hate it. But you don't like so some people have what I'm gonna call like a pipe dream where it's like, okay, I want all this stuff, but I'm not willing to invest on the steps that it takes to get there. And that's the hard part.
That is,
That's the
yeah.
hard part. And some people have, I mean, there's two things, right? So some people have that where I want this, but I'm not really committed to investing in it. And it's the other one, which in that case, I say, do you really want to do that, or do you just want the results and the fruits of what
Right. I
you're
like I
talking
like
about?
the glamorous ending part about it, but
Hmm.
I don't
Or
see all that work that goes into it.
yeah, or the other side of that is, I have this dream, I have this thing I want to do, I have this passion, but there's so much fear associated with it that I don't move. And so people get stuck in either of those lanes, and it's really hard to move out of that.
Yeah. And yeah, very true. Very, I see that all the time. Even as a vocal coach, I've seen where people they're coming and they're finally taking that first step of actually going after something they've been passionate about for years.
Hmm.
And another thing to maybe add to that is like sometimes it's what they've been told about themselves is like oh, you'll never be a singer. You weren't born with that. You don't have that, or whatever your dream is. You're not this. You're not good enough. You're too old. They've been you've been told that your whole life or whatever, and so
Hmm.
you never gone for that dream. You've gone for somebody else's dream. You know, so I think that's another thing that kind of keeps people stuck too. As far as those other two categories go, especially like when you are afraid to take that step because it's so much involved. What I found is just even a baby step, even if you just take one little step in that direction, you can get there. You can make progress. It's like going to the gym. I hate working out. I hate going to the gym. It's not fun. But once I'm there, I do what I gotta do. I take that one step. Over time that builds up over time. So just take that one little step, whatever it is, and over time you can get there. You know.
So, Louis, you're younger than me, right? So, I'm old.
No, you don't.
I'm a child of what I call like civil rights era parents. I am, though. I am. So, seriously, I'm a child of civil rights era parents. And that means something, right? So, for me, like even as a kid, right, I wanted to join the choir at church. It was like, yeah, you don't need to do that. Right? So it started like little things like that kind of chip away at your self-esteem and your
Hmm.
belief in yourself. But then after that, once it got to like you graduate, there was a real expectation that I take a route that was most traveled, right? With the least amount of risk. Because, and the reason I associated with civil rights era thinking is that my parents' options were a lot more limited than my options, right? And they weren't going to go out and be the star They were trying to find something that would be stable and they
Stable.
could take care of the kid.
Hmm.
They weren't going to get a lot of jobs just because of their race. We were in South Georgia. It just is what it is, right? And so having parents that grew up in that mentality, it was very much from my mom like, oh, you should be a nurse. Mama, I hate touching people. I don't like,
But you make good money and you'll have a good
you'll be
life and you'll be
stable.
stable. And it's because she loved you, because she
Yeah.
wanted you to, you know.
They'll always need nurses. And
Hmm.
she is so right about that. But I could never be a nurse. I don't like anything about being a nurse. Thank God for people who do. And it would be like that. Or you can be a teacher, right? And I think she told one of my sisters, like, don't go into business, be a teacher. It worked out really well for her because she's like retired now, at a young age. But she was like, don't go into business. Black people don't get jobs with business degrees, right? And so coming up with that, my expectation was like when I graduated high school, I wanted to go to college to be in fashion design and marketing. And it was like, no, you cannot. No, it's like, no, you cannot. So I ended up on this crazy journey trying to fit in the box that they wanted me to fit in. So it's like that living somebody else's dream. And it wasn't, I don't even know if it was their dream. It was like, okay, this is what we do. You're
Hmm.
not in a factory. Actually, it probably was, right? I'm not working in a factory. I can afford a house. Or no, I can't afford a house. Let's replace that. I can afford somewhere to stay.
So,
Houses are expensive. Just learned that lesson. But it was like the way my life was always kind of like, okay, I got to fit inside this box. And it's still like to this day, I have broken out of the box, but I still feel like I still got a leg,
like a
right?
little, it's just, yeah, just
It ain't even a leg. It's
can't
like
let it go.
half.
Yeah.
It's like it's in that box, and I won't just step out. And part of it is because now I have a child, right? So now I feel that extra weight. When he gone, I'm out. I got 2 years, 2.5. But yeah, like so for you growing up, were your parents very encouraging of you? Did you have that kind of environment that was nurturing of what you wanted to do and where you saw yourself going?
Yeah, very, they were, and I'm super grateful for that, because I do understand that, had they not been, I don't know if I would have been resilient.
Mhm.
I don't know if I would have. I could say that now, like I could say, because there are people who, had not so encouraging things to say, and I always kind of feel like I'll always kind of be like headstrong, like, well, I mean, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I love to do. But I'm grateful to have that. But yeah, um, everybody in my family has been very, very supportive of my music, and I think what was helpful too is, like, I was in a musical kind of family, so
Mm,
that really helped out too. Like, one of my earliest memories is seeing my sister sing in church, and then
mhm.
my brother played keyboards and drums, and my mom was the choir director, and my dad
That's
would play the
awesome.
blues and play his harmonica and stuff like that. So it was just, it was kind of all around. And so to me, that was like music was like a normal thing. But they, were very, very supportive, very encouraging, um, with it, and with anything that I wanted to do. It's like, because music wasn't my first dream that I pursued. I was gonna be a visual artist. I love to paint and draw. That was my big thing.
Oh,
Just
wow.
paint, draw all the time. And then I think once I was old enough to learn that, like, okay, when a lot of those painters and artists, they're not celebrated until after they die. Like,
That is
you know,
very true.
and I'm not spending my whole life, making all this art, and then being a starving artist, and then it's like, wait, so nobody's gonna like my stuff until I actually die. It's like, I was like, nah. And then that's kind of, but I mean, I always love music. Like I said, music was always like a normal
Mhm,
thing for me. And it's weird how I even like started. um it was like we had this, like this photo editing program on I think it was like my sister's computer, where you could, like,
mhm.
that's back when like digital cameras first came out,
Yeah,
you know.
I
And
remember
so
that.
there was this one particular thing where you can make a CD, you could print out a CD cover and print out your own
Yes.
custom CD
Mhm.
thing. So I was just making one up, just, it's like my far-fetched little dream or whatever. I was like
Yeah.
11 or whatever. Made it, printed it out, brought it to school, and then they're like, "Oh my God, you got a CD coming out!" I was like, I was like, oh yeah, I'm working on a CD. I'm working on a CD, and that kind of sparked it for me because I was like, well, I got to deliver this CD. I got to, and then I started. I mean, it didn't happen like right away, but that was kind of like I would start like writing songs on the computer, and I would start. We had like a piano at home, and I would just pick out
Yeah.
little melodies that I heard in my head and actually go for it. I never finished the CD for middle school, my middle school fans, but but that kind of sparked it off, and I was like, oh, this is I could really go for this. I could really do this. And it's just one of those things that it just kind of built up over time. It was
Hmm.
fun, and like I said, whenever I would just make music or just play around with it, it just time would just go like that. And I realized like that this is what I want to do. This is what I love. Yeah.
So starting in middle school, right? I'm always jealous of the people who like have this vision starting like,
So
oh,
early.
I'm like, I don't know what the heck I want to do. And I'm like going on 40, like not quite, but close. But that makes me think about age, right? So I know as a vocal coach, like I was in there and I wasn't a young spring chicken. Like, do you have people in there that are like vast ages? Like,
Mhm.
I know you
I have
have
all
really
ages.
young.
Yeah, I have all ages, and I do notice that with like the older when people are coming the older they are, there it's kind of like this fear of like, well, I'm not trying to do this for real. I'm not trying to be a star. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to do this.
Oh,
I just always love singing. I'm like, no, go for it. That's what you want to do. It doesn't to me.
yeah.
I'm
You
like,
told me
it
that
doesn't
too.
matter what age you are, as long as if you put in the hours and put in the work into it, you can accomplish whatever there is. Because if somebody starts at 3 or somebody starts at 7, it's just they just started a little bit earlier. They got their 10,000 hours in a little bit sooner than you would. But if you put in the
Yeah.
work, you can get those 10,000 hours in,
Yeah, Louis. Yeah.
to
You
master
told
your
me,
skill.
you said you can sound like Beyonce.
Yeah,
That's
you
totally
can.
possible. I was like, something wrong
He's
with
like,
him. I
yeah.
don't know
People.
about that.
I'm just, I'm just really like really big on like if you, I know if you do the work, you can because like I said, it's part of we talked about earlier, like reflecting. When I listen back to when I first started,
Hmm.
like that very first song I recorded, I'm like,
Yeah, I think I
I want
listened
to
to it.
cringe,
It
so
wasn't that bad.
it was
It
bad.
wasn't that bad.
It was bad. it, it was a lot. I mean, I can do a lot better now. I mean, you can hear my growth, right? So
Yes,
that's
you can. I can hear your growth,
yeah.
but it wasn't bad. It wasn't like horrible.
Appreciate
So it's just so funny that we're talking about this because something just came to mind. So my dad has recently, my mom passed, and so now he has like all this time on his hand because he's retired. He has recently joined like this. I call it a boy band. I call it a boy
it.
band. They have a CD. He sent me the CD. I'm not kidding. It's like old school gospel though, like that that
Mhm.
old school gospel. And they have a CD. And it was like, it's crazy because when my mom passed, it was a source of inspiration, as in, you better do what you want to do while you're here, right?
Right.
That was a certain source of a different type of inspiration. But when he was like, I got a CD, I was like, well, Zorn, man, you 70 or something over there. So if you can have a CD, maybe one day I'll have a CD. Or like just the fact that at any age you can pursue something that you maybe thought of, or for him, I don't know if he ever thought about being on a CD. He was a teacher, a high school teacher. But being able to do that at that age, it's like, no, just do what you want to do now.
Right. Right.
Like it's no waiting for this perfect situation or this perfect. Just do what you want to do right now, and I guarantee you, everything's not gonna go right when you
Right.
do it, but you're gonna feel hecka good that you did it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you just said something that really kind of sparked something. Um, that was one of the limitations for me is always waiting for the perfect circumstances. So like when I first started, I was like, oh, I don't want to put any music out. I don't want to do this because oh, I don't want to, record a
Oh
video unless it's big budget, unless it's
yeah.
this level, unless I get signed by this label or whatever.
Mhm.
And looking back now, I'm like, oh, I wish I would just started there, because you got to start somewhere. And like you said, it's not going to be all right, but you're going to build and grow from that. And so that's one of the things I would probably do differently. back then I would probably like just start where you are, even if it's not super perfect. But I always there was a while where I waited for like these perfect conditions, these
Mm-hmm.
stars to align. It's like maybe that's not your story. Maybe you start.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
yeah.
looking at somebody else like, okay, I want this happened for like this for Chris Brown, or this happened like this for Neo, this happened like this for this artist, or whatever. So it can happen like this for me, which is cool. Nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, it's like your story is your story. Your path is your path, and don't always wait for like the most perfect scenario to take that first step.
Yeah, and also don't try to follow somebody else's method. We're looking at Instagram and like social media, you have so much insight to other people's lives that you probably shouldn't. And you
Oh yeah,
only see what they post, which is very
the
deceiving,
highlights.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, like people post stuff for likes. They post the good stuff and they post stuff for likes,
yeah,
right? And so a lot of times we can be like, okay, I want to travel, like this is the path, but that was their path. That doesn't mean it's your path.
yeah.
Awesome. All right. So I so appreciate you. I know I've kept you over a little bit. I want to give you a moment to shout out all of the things you are working on. Let me get up my graphic
All
and
right.
here you go.
Hey, I love that. Yeah. So thank you. So all the things I'm working on right now. Of course, I know uh you probably still gonna be mad at me, but I'm still working on the album.
Yeah, I am very upset about that, but I was trying not to mention it. But yeah,
I
you're
mean,
right.
talking about the album. I mean, it's been tough. As the only writer and producer and mix engineer and trying to get it mastered. So I'm at the last stage getting it mastered. Um, Again, requires a lot of financial, and then finding the right
Hmm.
people who can do it the right way. And then I'll be working on music videos and then performing. So that's where I am now. I'm also teaching at Sing Like a Star. I do have some music on Spotify and Apple Music right now that I released in July, a single. But hopefully the album will be out this year, at the end of this year. That's my plan. That's my goal. Other than that, nothing else at the moment. I have been. Oh, I recently did some jingles uh,
Hmm.
for it's a lawyer by the name of Corey the Lawyer. Um, we did a jingle, and I produced it, and it has Project Pat on there. So that should be playing on the radio in Houston, Texas. The other thing I did recently was a contest for Sony Music Publishing. It's on my Facebook page, so if you can go there and please vote for me. It's a
It's
contest, a cover contest for there's a songwriter, Sylvia Moy. She used to write for like Stevie Wonder and Motown. Um, and so basically, the contest, you do a cover of one of the songs that she wrote, and the top 20 finalists will perform and compete for it's like a $20,000 grand prize from Sony Music Publishing and her estate. So I think that's a cool opportunity. But it's on my Facebook page. You can click and vote for my cover and check it out. I Was Made to Love Her by Stevie Wonder, my own cover rendition of that. Other than that, just constantly working on my craft and teaching and working on music, and that's about it.
all right. No, yeah, I put the link to vote and I put the link to Lewis's link tree in the comments. So please connect with Lewis. I
Yes, please.
truly, truly appreciate you being here. Also, remember, I am a life and career coach. You can connect with me too.
Yes.
So connect with me too. My email is joy@active-potential.com. All right, Lewis, what's your last word? We're going to go out to your music.
My last word is, if you have a dream, don't procrastinate. Don't let other people project their limiting beliefs on you, and just take one step at a time. Work at it daily, even if it's just one little small step, one little thing every day. Go for your dreams because they're yours. I mean,
Who
don't
else
let
gonna do it?
right. You gotta do the work. It's your dream. Go after it, and it's so fulfilling when you do. It gives you lots of joy.
Awesome. All right, so we're gonna exit with Lewis's new single. Tell us what the single is, and then we're gonna say peace.
This is my single, Miami. It was a fun one to make. It's really about appreciating um the things that matter in life. So in this song, I'm talking about, it's kind of fictitious a little bit, but it kind of true to life. But it's like about um, he was in love with someone when, maybe they didn't have everything there, didn't have material success or whatever. Then in his pursuit of material success, he loses that person he loves. And then in that moment of his great success, he's realizing what was the most valuable thing was the thing that didn't cost any money, was the thing that was real and not the material thing. So that's kind of what the song is about. But it's called Miami. Check it out. It's really, really fun song. Hope you enjoy it.
All right. Thank you guys. See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Bye.